I am not eliminating the growth of corn in the United States, nor am I diminishing its impact on our global economy. And I'm not eliminating corn subsidies. I'm simply reducing them. So now let's go through some of these talking points. Corn-fed cattle causes E. coli because their bellies weren't meant to process corn. So that's why in Section 2, I wrote in a stipulation which said that the subsidies from corn are going to help go to grass to feed our cattle to ensure healthier food. A Colorado boy ate a burger infected with that sort of E. coli, died in 8 days. All right? That is what we need to be protecting the United States from. Now, it has been said that this is going to hurt small farmers. But as I've said many times before, it's only 38% of corn farmers that actually receive subsidies. Now, that 38% produces upwards of 93% of production. So this is really only affecting major farms, not the farms of great-grandfathers of previous delegates. Small farmers are going to be affected positively by this because they are going to face more equal competition. Their huge corporate partners aren't going to be assisted by the government. Instead, we are promoting a free, fair, capitalist economy. Now, yes, you will pay more for soda and burgers. But last time I checked, we have an obesity epidemic in this country, which is affecting our healthcare system negatively. So that's a plus. The previous speaker, one of the previous speakers said the high fructose corn syrup is incredibly profitable. Yes, because it's funded by the government. Okay, next. This isn't going to make gasoline more expensive. It's been brought up that because we're making ethanol more expensive and driving it out of the gas that we have now, that gas prices are going to go up. But ethanol is actually more expensive, and it approaches almost 52 cents per gallon more expensive than refined gasoline in its pure natural state. So there you go. Gas prices go down. That's a good thing. Trust me, I'm going to be a poor college student someday. I really like cheap gas. What this also does in the stipulations is it gives funds towards biofuels and towards sugarcane production, which is then going to create more renewable, more efficient, and more American-centric sources of biofuel, which are going to have a more positive impact on our environment. Now, the previous delegate said that Mexican farmers should just shift crops from corn to something else if they want to survive. And I'm glad that they said that. Because Fronteras Changing America published a study the other year, in 2010, which said that yes, they are changing crops. Would you like to know which crop they're changing to? Marijuana. So that's a plus. We can't allow Mexican farmers to have to resort to the illicit drug trade and impact our economy in a negative manner. A previous delegate in a con speech said that this proposal isn't saving us money. However, it's doing nothing but saving us money. What it's doing is it's saving our healthcare from the obesity epidemic and cheap corn products. What it's doing is it's reducing the welfare burden from illegal immigration. What it's doing is it's supporting our partner Mexico in move solidarity, which is going to strengthen both of our economies. What it's doing is it's decreasing the drug burden that they have on our country. And what it's doing is it's decreasing the debt of the United States federal government, which provides these subsidies. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot isolate ourselves in the global economy. I urge you to vote aye. I urge you to side with me and side with this proposal as we go forward and we make steps to send a message to the world that yes, this is just a proposal of the Conference on National Affairs, but this is an issue which we deeply care about. It's an issue which will affect every single one of our lives, and I urge you to stand in affirmation with me. Thank you. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you, Delegate. The question before this assembly...
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to reserve my right to yield the remainder of my time to Flanagan.
That is your right.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, corn will always be a part of our diet. It will always be a part of our economy as well, because our diet is part of our economy. Whether we like it or not, we're addicted to corn. And if we're going to change it, it's going to become something else other than corn. And real quick, one more point. About poor people not being able to afford this. And so, like, they're buying these lower processed foods or higher processed foods rather than lower quality. My dad is from a very small town in Louisiana called Zachary. And he has come up and he has built his way to the top, ladies and gentlemen. I am now sporting a Brooks Brothers bow tie, a Ralph Lauren shirt. We're doing all right in my family. At this time, I'd like to yield the remainder of my time to Patrick Flanagan from Louisiana.
15 seconds.
Patrick Flanagan, Louisiana. Thank you, Madam Chair. I come from a long line of corn farmers. My great-great-great-grandfather came over to this country with nothing, and he worked and worked every day of his life just to get a small corn farm in Illinois. Well, that farm grew and it grew, and in the Great Depression, my great-grandfather lost everything, but he worked his whole life and he got our farm back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Flanagan Farm is proud to say that we have never accepted a subsidy. And while we have made it on our own for over 150 years, I cannot support the elimination of subsidies because if prices of corn go up, it will be the big guys who are able to survive, not the little farmers who represent the American dream. I hope to own a part of the Flanagan Farm one day and continue to carry on the legacy of my ancestors, which is why I cannot stand in favor of this proposal. I ask you to fail it and support the American dream and fail the proposal before this General Assembly. Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield my time to you.
Thank you. That is your right.
So another delegate kind of touched on this, but I don't think he shed enough light on it. So with the fast food nation going the way it is right now, cattle farmers are now looking for new, easier ways to feed the massive amounts of cattle that they have. Corn costs much less than wheat, grains that cows are normally used to. So with them feeding cows corn all the time, it is actually making E. coli in their stomach mutate. So when the E. coli mutates, we're normally used to the E. coli in the cow's stomachs with the wheat, but since it's mutating, we are not accustomed to it, and that means it's deadly to us humans. So when the cows are produced, when they're slaughtered and manufactured, all that good stuff, it is really, really disgusting. I don't know if you all have ever seen Food Incorporated. If you haven't watched it, it's an amazing documentary. But it really sheds light on how disgusting these factories are. And so when these cows are herded and whatnot, they're just covered in their own feces. It's disgusting. And the feces from them can actually get into our food. And there have actually been several documented accounts of when people have actually gotten E. coli poisoning from these cows, from these factories, because they have been eating corn. So this proposal will not only help us start losing weight because of just calories and all that good stuff, but it will also, I lost my spot. But in short term, we will not die of E. coli poisoning. Thank you. You want my time?
You deal in 9 seconds, and it's for the office.
Reagan of Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, I agree we need to get rid of corn subsidies. However, I think we need to get rid of subsidies on everything. Let the free market decide the price of our goods. Furthermore, I object to this proposal because it puts an export tax on American crops, therefore manipulating the price yet again. When the government starts manipulating prices, we therefore begin to create speculative bubbles. Furthermore, the purpose of said export taxes is to improve the economy of Mexico. It is not our duty to meddle in the affairs of other countries' economies. We've already done that for the past few decades, and look where it's gotten us. We need to think about that. I would agree with this proposal if it was a straight repeal of the federal subsidies. However, because of the export tax, I cannot approve. And with that, I yield the remainder of my time to Hope from Maryland.
Errol Hope, Maryland delegation. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm opposed to this run, not because I oppose subsidies. Sorry, previous delegate. However, I understand that the subsidies that are in place right now are necessary. They have been this way since the 1930s with the New Deal. What happened was, in the 1920s, American farmers went through a severe depression. This was caused by overproducing and causing a fall of prices. What that ends up doing is that they cannot make enough money to survive. To survive and produce more, causing prices to drop further. We either need to set a price level that we did during the World Wars, or somehow increase demand. Now, you can't just artificially increase demand without buying grain and throwing it away. That's even worse than setting up a subsidy. To take away these subsidies, not only to take away their livelihoods, but it's also to ruin the agricultural system of this country. We may be able to remove subsidies sometime in the future, but this is not the time, this is not the way to do it, and this will detrimentally affect both the economy and the American
delegate,
culture.
time has elapsed. Seeing that we're doing fairly well with time so far.
Chair, I reserve my right to yield or make my time to Louis.
That is your right.
Thank you, delegates. I urge you to vote yea on this proposal for many reasons. Firstly, the health of our nation is very imperative, and it's something we should all take into account. Another note that was not brought up is that our government is subsidizing corn that is being exported to other nations. In other words, our government is paying for lower corn prices for all of the countries that we export to. We are diminishing the price of our corn that we are then selling at a lower price tag to it. That means our taxpayer dollars are being used so others can buy our products cheaper. If we get rid of these, then other countries will need to buy our products still, because this is a very essential part of what they eat. If we get rid of these, then we will be receiving more money, because we're receiving the actual value of our product. That I yield the remainder of my time to
52 seconds.
Representative Ted Lewis from New Mexico. I might be representing New Mexico, but I was born and raised in Kansas, so I know the importance of corn. I know that it's great, but I even spent some time in eastern Kansas, like a car speaker said. Yes, corn is important, but it's not everything. Social Darwinism says that if one thing fails, is going to fail, we need to evolve or die. If these farmers are refusing to conform to something new just because we take away their money, just to take away what they want, then they should be left to their own devices to fail or to succeed as they see fit. Thank you for that. I yield my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Amanda Johnson, Michigan Delegation. Rejuvenation is always a good thing for those experiencing the rejuvenation. However, rejuvenation brings dangerous repercussions on many people. In this situation, the dangerous repercussions will be brought on our nation and our economy. Creating an export tariff will rejuvenate the economy of Mexico. However, it will hurt our domestic economy. 63% of corn leaving our country goes to Mexico. If we put a tariff on the corn going to Mexico, we'll be endangering the export economy of corn. We may be helping Mexico, but we'll be shooting ourselves in the foot. Thank you. I give my time to the chair. A minute and 10 seconds.
Alabama. I reserve to yield the remainder of my time to the delegate Peterson from Texas.
That is your right.
These subsidies are promoting the overproduction of corn at the expense of, one, the environment, and two, the health of our U.S. citizens. The guaranteed prices and generous subsidies that feed our manufacturers and food production demand for high fructose corn syrup, and also to feed our cattle, which in a way is abusive because cattle aren't even designed to eat this corn and it fattens them up. But that's an issue and debate for another time. Bottom line, it's harmful because of the water and the fertilizer, which is made up from compost manure, which ends up in our water supply and spreads diseases such as E. coli. Addressing the high fructose corn syrup issue, these subsidies drive down the price of corn so low that these companies have the opportunity to exchange or substitute the high fructose corn syrup for real sugar. And why shouldn't they take that? It's a cheap alternative solution to real sugar. If it weren't for these subsidies and this opportunity, food companies probably wouldn't even use high fructose corn syrup. These farmers, industrial farmers, need an incentive to push them towards our healthier food options. And also, the government needs to stop subsidizing these things that are very unhealthy and potentially putting another burden on our healthcare system. We can provide healthier food options by this way and provide environmental renewal to our nation. And I yield the remainder of my time to Peterson.
40 seconds.
Thank you, Peterson, Republic of Texas. Healthcare, interesting issue. This is a proactive proposal, not a reactive. We've been focusing so much on reactive for healthcare. Let's focus on the proactive. High fructose corn syrup, it's cheap. People buy it. Low-income families buy high carb, high fat, high sugar, which simply turns into more fat, which causes obesity in this country, which take it further. If people aren't obese and people aren't having cardiac problems, people aren't having other healthcare issues, it lowers their healthcare costs because it's not necessary to use it anymore. Also, farmers have adapted when agriculture has changed. So if we're funding other type of subsidies for other type of agriculture, farmers will adapt. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates.
I reserve the right to yield my time to the delegate from North Carolina.
That is your right.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to point out that high fructose corn syrup and all other corn products are a very profitable business, and they're also a choice to all consumers. They are reported on the FDA on every single thing we buy. This has been in place since FDR. Also, this bill will proposal shall kill all farmers' business, and we'll have to bail them out and try and help them find new jobs. This will only hurt our economy. Liquor prices, snack prices, gas prices, and nearly everything else will soar. And also, not all Mexican farmers become illegal immigrants. Many turn to other crops, other jobs. This is the point of social Darwinism. We are the stronger business, and we must thrive in our economy. Thank you. I yield my time to your
Thank you, Delegate. You have a minute, 15 seconds.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, previous delegate, Fields Pierce, North Carolina. I think it's important that we realize why, in fact, we are subsidizing corn. Corn is a fundamental material in our economy. Just like previous speakers have said, it is in literally everything. But more than that, even in materials that corn is not present, it will raise prices. Now, why is that? Gasoline is currently about 15% ethanol. If we were to eliminate the corn subsidy, then gas prices are going to raise. And if gas prices raise, the entire economy goes to the tank. So we need to make sure that we actually eliminate these subsidies in a way that we can control the economy. And I say that how? We don't want to shock the economy by just eliminating 70% of subsidies. If we want to eliminate subsidies, we need to do it on a gradual level so that we can transfer to other materials rather than just getting off of corn just like that. Also, just transferring from subsidies from corn to other foods is not going to save the United States any money. We are not saving ourselves any money in this process, and therefore, I urge you to vote in negation of this proposal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, delegates.
Now, I have nothing against corn. In fact, I love corn syrup, and all the fatty processed goodness it derives. But I must stand in firm support of this proposal because of the ripple effects of corn subsidies in our economy, society, and nation. One, because corn is cheap and food processors purchase it in bulk, to the point that almost everything we eat and drink is made with corn. We become overly dependent on a single crop that created an enormous investment fund. If it were to average crop, there would be mass panic, as we would lose the majority of our food source. Two, subsidies manipulate corn prices, so the processed foods are the affordable ones. And if you're trying to live on food stamps, you have to choose between the $5 a pound lean turkey and the $1 Big Mac. Which one would you choose? Thus, large food processors can take advantage of the lower class, further propelling obesity rates. Three, ethanol is inefficient. On average, it costs more to produce, is less effective, and produces about as much CO2 as gasoline. Four, excessive corn subsidies have destroyed Mexican corn production, decimating livelihoods, and exacerbating illegal immigration. Exporting is one thing, but when a crop receives $5 billion in government compensation per year, the market is neither fair nor free. In fact, this proposal dramatically addresses all these problems. Far from compromising our competitive edge entirely, this reduces corn subsidies by 7%. Some of this money will be reallocated to organic and sustainable agriculture, diversifying the American diet. Ethanol funding is transferred to research in more efficient biofuels, and further it creates an export tariffs on U.S. corn sold to Mexico, leveling the playing field for a truly free market. The solution is creative, preventative, feasible, bipartisan, and necessary. It will take our nation to a more stable future, free from dependence on corn production. And I urge you all to vote for this proposal tonight in the remainder of my time for chair.
Thank you, delegate. The floor is now open to
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. government has been subsidizing corn for a very long time. So long that farmers may have begun and will continue corn farming relying on these subsidies. Well, you may be asking, why? Why are we just subsidizing corn? Well, it doesn't work that way. More or less, all farmers are subsidized in some way or another. From 1995 to 2009, meat and dairy received 63% of the subsidies, grains received 20%, and sugar, oil, alcohol, and starch farming only received 15%. Now, the largest annual subsidy are direct and countercyclical payments, and they're paid to farmers who just grow crops. So despite what most people believe, we do not have some malicious or ulterior motive to these corn subsidies. Because profits are so dependent on unreliable weather with farming, farmers need these subsidies to keep their businesses afloat. That's the fact of the matter. Along with assisting American farmers in maintaining the job they've had for so long, the Corn Belt states would have their economies decimated. Indiana, Iowa, Missouri, East Kansas, West Nebraska, these are all states that heavily rely on corn production for their economies, and it's one of their absolute main crops. But let's pretend for a minute that we don't care about all these people, that we don't care about all the American corn farmers. How does this affect the American people? Well, the answer is simple. The prices of corn will go up. And what if you don't eat corn? Well, corn is in almost everything. The author said it himself. Corn is in high fructose corn syrup. It's in ethanol. It's in vast majority of processed foods. All of these will go up. You'll have to pay more for soda. You'll have to pay more for gas. It is not just corn. These subsidies are made for the purposes of price stabilization and assisting farmers. It says so in the justification of this proposal. And if we're worried about large farming corporations getting rich off these subsidies, why don't we just do something more pragmatic? Why don't we tie subsidies to income levels? How about that? Now, I realize that the subsidies have hurt the Mexican economy, but why should we jeopardize ours? Ladies and gentlemen, our economy is not in the greatest shape right now either, and the last thing we need are less jobs. I urge you all to vote against this proposal. Thank you. I yield the remainder of my time to the chair.
Thank you, New York, New Jersey, Texas, North Carolina, Georgia, Oklahoma, Massachusetts, Virginia, Florida, Minnesota, and Tennessee.
Babes Canonico from South Carolina. Delegate, is this proposal by eliminating these foreign subsidies going to violate NAFTA in any way?
No, it's not, because what we're doing is we're making export tariffs, which is not against NAFTA, import tariffs are.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Kylie Ork and I am from Florida. Do you have the difference in price between non-subsidized corn and subsidized corn?
I'm sorry, I don't have that statistic.
Thank you. Caroline Turbo, North Carolina. What percentage of the world's global food supply does the United States produce and distribute?
I can't say exactly.
Thank you, Arthur.
Spencer Tire, Commonwealth of Virginia. Have there been reports of engine failures in small and large engines due to the ethanol or gasoline?
That is debatable.
Malafrance, New Jersey. Over what time period will these subsidy cuts be made?
Well, what's going to be happening is, according to the proposal, we're going to have 70% cut immediately, which is quite drastic.
Thank you, Arthur.
Ferris, Oklahoma. How is high fructose corn syrup made?
High fructose corn syrup uses the sugars and starches within corn, distills them, and makes a syrupy liquid that's used in pretty much everything.
Thank you, Arthur.
Gives her a look at Texas. How many tons of corn does the United States export to Mexico?
At peak harvest, we export 8 million tons of corn per week.
Thank you.
Leonia, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. How will prices of products produced using subsidized corn?
That's debatable.
Maria Henry in New York. What percentage of our GDP is made up by corn exports?
I can't say that.
Thank you, Arthur.
Kaylin Harvey, Tennessee, the volunteer state. Is this a flat sum subsidy or a per unit subsidy?
This is I believe it's a flat sum subsidy, but I may be correct in that sum.
Thank you.
Campbell Harrison, Georgia. Since a large portion of livestock feed is corn-based, how would your proposal affect yield?
That is debatable. Chair recognizes